Live and direct from anywhere in the world, it's The Kelly Show with Dr. Kelly Mondesire.
Hello and welcome back to The Kelly Show, real people with real stories in real time. And I'm Dr. Kelly Mondesire, and we continue the month of April, the state of global agriculture. And today I have an amazing guest who's coming on to talk about olive groves in Greece and also crises in global agriculture. So stay tuned, because after a word from our sponsor, I'm going to come back, introduce my guest, and have a very, very important conversation to share with you viewers. Be right back.
This portion of The Kelly Show is being brought to you by White Wolf Advisory Services. We are the bridge between nations, creating growth, commerce and collaboration between cultures. Contact us today for more information.
Welcome back to The Kelly Show, real people with real stories in real time. And as we go around the globe, the month of April, we continue our conversations, the state of global agriculture. And today, my guest is coming to us from New York City. Neni Panourgia, PhD, is a justice in education and affiliated faculty member of Columbia University. She is an author of numerous volumes on subjects of anthropology, Hellenic studies, and humanism. I have the privilege and honor to welcome Neni to the studio. Neni, thank you and welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much, Kelly. I'm very well, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, I already gave it away where you are now, but can you tell our viewers, where are you from and how did you get to New York? And what factors influenced you to become involved with anthropology, ethnology, and also the prison education system, and what all this has to do with agriculture?
So I'm from Athens, Greece. I was born in Athens, and my family are from there. And I came to the United States in 1982 to go to graduate school. In 1990, I got my first job at Columbia. I was writing my dissertation. I got my first job at teaching at Columbia, and that's how I came to New York. After that, I moved around because my partner and everything. So went to Princeton. Then I was teaching at NYU. I came back to Columbia in 2000. And the anthropology question is an interesting one. I come from a rather non-intuitive, let me put it that way, non-intuitive family, not just for Greece, but for anywhere. My parents did not live together until I was 5. My mother was traveling, my father was traveling. They were both successful professionals. My father's family, half of his family are in South Africa. Half of my mother's family are scattered, the United States, Australia. Her 2 siblings were born in the United States. My father traveled all over the world. It was from the very beginning. I was immersed into a world which was not just the world of Athens, but a much wider world. People were coming and going from our house from all over the world. I was exposed to different ways of thinking and ways of being human from a very, very young age. So it was sort of a natural segue into anthropology, into learning systematically how other people live and why, right? Why do they live the way that they live? So that's what brought it all together.
Well, you had sent me a paper that you wrote. We have a graphic to put up, if Gareth, you mind. And this was incredible. When we spoke before you came on the show, we talked about the state of global agriculture, hunger, using food as a weapon or food as a product of control We had an in-depth conversation about this. Tell us about this photo and tell us about that paper that you had written, and that segues into what you're doing in Greece with your family business, the olive grove. But let's sit on this for a minute and tell us about this photo and the paper that you wrote and how important food is, not to make it into a weapon of control, so to speak.
Well, this is a paper that was written in 2016. It came out in 2016. It was part of the wider program for Documenta 14, the art organization that has actually been mostly shut down by the ADFA in Germany. It is an international art program, and in 2017 it was held in Athens. It was the first time that it was actually held both in Athens and Kassel, where it is based. But what Paul Preciado did then in 2016 was that he opened a preamble to the exhibit that he called the Parliament of Bodies, and in connection to that, remember, Greece was still under severe economic crisis in 2016. He asked me to write a piece that came out in Documenta that was called Enfleshment of Memory, and it was for a special issue on hunger. So I wrote about the famine in Greece in 1941, famine that happened during the German occupation, of Greece during the Second World War. And it was a famine that was brought on largely and initially because of the embargo that the Allies enacted upon Greece, so that they would cut down the supply lines of the Germans, the Nazis. And then when the Germans actually occupied all of Greece, the famine intensified, and we had about 250,000 people dead from the famine in a country that at the time was about 9 million people. So I wrote about that. These are photographs that the photographer Dimitris Heresiadis took as part of the documentation that the government actually put together after liberation 1944 to submit in order to get some compensation for the ineffable destruction that the war had brought into the country. Greece had a total of 450,000 dead from the war. It was incredible. I mean, the entire infrastructure of the country was completely destroyed, and it is something that people don't usually talk about. I mean, people talk about other calamities in terms of the war, but the incredible calamities that the country went through, which still reverberate to a certain level, have not been talked about. Not much. So that's what that was. I mean, people who were dying in the middle of the street. There were, they were brought down to under 400 calories a day, and consumption, which is non-survivable, and people could be eating from the rubbish, and they would be eating cats and cat meat, and the blockade was actually broken when a Turkish ship brought in a really large shipment of garbanzo beans. That was the first time that people actually were able to have something that was nutritious, but in all that, all that was, I mean, Athens was really hit hard from that. But people who lived in the provinces or just outside of Athens, who had ancient olive groves, they fared just a tad better than the rest, because olive oil, as you know, is liquid gold, right? I mean,
Yes.
it sustains you. So people who had olive groves held on to them. They could exchange it for other foodstuffs, and it was also a secure, I mean, more secure commodity that could be exchanged, because the Germans would not confiscate it because they didn't use olive oil, whereas they would confiscate butter, they would confiscate wheat, they would confiscate other foodstuffs, but olive oil, because they didn't at the time, they did not eat it. It was a little more secure as a produce.
Wow. Well, speaking of olive groves, we have a few photos of your family's olive grove.
Yeah.
This is absolutely beautiful. Can you please tell our viewers where in Greece this is, and a little bit about looks like there's a village down there. Tell us about this landscape. Tell us about the olive grove and the family business of producing olive oil.
So this is in the northern Peloponnese. It's 152 kilometers from Athens, and it is up on elevation of 300 meters. Right, the grove. What we're looking over, we are looking over the village of Akrata, where the grove is, and after that outcrop that what in the West, in the United States, would be called a mesa. After that mesa, we see the Gulf of Corinth, and at the other end of the Gulf of Corinth is Delphi.
Oh wow!
Right. So we see Delphi from the grove behind in that other cove back there. And this is a grove that we have actually dowry papers for it that go back to the 1700s. So this is a grove that my father put together, I mean, consolidated. Instead of having a different form of middle life crisis, people go off and they get, motorcycles or trophy wives or things of that sort. My father consolidated this grove and put it in operation after so many decades that it had been lying, not dormant exactly, but undertended. My father, and we would be getting a little bit of olive oil over the years. My grandfather had died in 1962, so until 1975 that my father actually started again on this. It had sort of been. They would pick up the olives. My father would have someone that would pick up some olives. We would have our yearly olive oil. But in 1975, my father started a more concentrated operation there. My father was mechanical and chemical engineer, and he works with PVC, and he produced garden hosing and transport hoses. Yeah, his piping was used in Saudi Arabia to transport oil from the fields, the oil fields, to the Gulf. So he would bring the hosing that he would be designing and producing. He would first try it out on the grove, and then he would put it into production. So this is the grove. It's it's sloped, and you can also see the different levels, right?
Yes.
And it has about 500 olive trees, and it's non-monoculture, so we get the benefit of having a polyculture grove. There are citrus trees there, there are almonds, and then different kinds of citrus, almonds, fig trees, and then ground covering throughout this is summer, but ground covering throughout the year. There's clover, capers, and here is one of my
Ooh.
favorite photos. Green unripened olives. These are olives right about the time when we pick them, because we actually produce early, unripened olive oil, right? So these are about 20 days before they get picked.
And do you use a stone to cold press the olives? We used to have a place in Auprès-le-Vieux in Provence, Moulin de Mathieu was the name of it, and it was the big stone that would do the cold press of the olive oil. And it's a pity because last time I went back home, it was closed.
Oh, I actually have photographs. I didn't think to send them to you. I do have photographs of the old stone press, and the stones, the way they have been, they're being replaced. We cold press. We first press. So our press is the first one of the day, every day, that we take the olives there, and we take the olives there as soon as we collect them. So the olives don't stay in the crates for longer than sometimes just for 3, because and I am there usually, or my partner is there, or my nephew, my sister in previous years, because the olives need to be pressed as soon as they get picked. Right. So from the time that we take the olives, we start in the morning, we take the olives to the press around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we have the first press around 6.
Wow.
The important thing here is the length of time. What is important is the time that the pulp remains in the masticator. So the longer it does, the better it is for the oil, for the olives. So we put them through the masticator for about 2 hours, and then we get this incredibly beautiful green thick liquid that comes through. We don't filter our oil, so we get that smell, that incredible smell. Almost we have oil now for 2 years, and the moment that I open the tin, all that smell just comes up. My parents never had a business, and we only started selling our oil at cost when the financial crisis started in Greece in 2012, because my nephews needed to have some form of income, and that's what we did. We subsidized the cost of the olives, and then every single drachma, cent that would come in from selling the oil would go to them.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing that with us. And you've written so many books on humanism, anthropology. What are your thoughts on the state of global agriculture, climate change, and where do you see global agriculture going in our future?
Well, right now we are at a moment of crisis, of deep crisis, right? Because we are just about, in the United States, we're just about to be deprived of produce that for the past, 40 years we've taken for granted. So not only strawberries and avocados, but also very basic things such as wheat, right? That lots of it comes from Canada, and starting today, we're going to have 25% tariffs slapped onto imports from Canada. That's one thing, the tariffs, which put everything, all production and consumption of foodstuffs at the table. Right now, we are facing, if we take imports out of the equation, we are faced with the the certainty of food shortages that come from the United States, because we will not have the farmhands who are all of them belong to non-American bodies, right? Are being rapidly deported from the country. Those are the farmhands that have the hands that cut up chickens and butcher beef and pigs that also belong to non-American bodies, and they are also being deported from the country. So we have food insecurity right now is not the result. Right now, it's not the result of climate change. Right now, it is the result of a deep stupidity that has come in the form of, I don't know what to call it, what people in government right now are thinking. But climate change is a larger, overarching concern that we have, because we have seen this on our grove. We have seen the effects of climate change on our grove within the past 7 years. I mean, I can put a date on it, because the effects of climate change come really quickly, but unexpectedly, right? So climate scientists have been talking to us and warning us about the effects of climate change for many, many years now. And then suddenly that became reality on the ground, literally on the ground. We are seeing at the Grove bugs that we had not seen before that are being developed because of the change in temperature, ambient temperature, and lack of humidity, right? So those are the two main things. And then the third thing, which is of incredible importance, is the sustained heat that we see in the summer. So it's not the 42 or 45 degrees Celsius 4 or 5 days in the summer in the form of a heat wave, but it is the sustained 38 degrees Celsius temperatures for 2 months in the summer that do not allow the temperature to drop below that, and do not allow the trees to breathe out of that sustained long-term high temperature, right? So it's not only the heat waves, but it is also the sustained long-term high temperature that is changing production, is changing the ways in which the trees react to the climate. So we have seen over the past maybe 10 years the ways in which groundwater is accumulating. So we have a well. I mean, we've drilled a well at the Grove. It's a well that originally did not need to go really deep. I mean, we cut through stone, right? And we found water in 1975, water that sustained the Grove. It's not what we call wet Grove, so we only use water 3 or 4 times in the summer. But over the past 7 years, our pump has broken down 3 times because it doesn't get to water, but gets into sludge. So the pumps keep breaking.
Wow.
Well,
thank you for bringing this to light, and I hope your words will create an impression upon our viewers to think twice about where their food comes from, the geopolitic involved, and also the climatic and the natural elements that are changing what goes on our table, how much it costs, and how much we can put on our tables. But we're going to take a little break for a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with Dr. Neni Panourgia and the state of global agriculture. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Many Purple Hats, MPH, Vroom! Get noticed online, stand out from the crowd, differentiate yourself from all that white noise. Vroom!
Welcome back to my conversation with Dr. Neni Panourgia, who's coming to us today from Columbia University. Neni, we have a tradition on the Kelly Show where we ask each of our guests who, what, where, or what experience, if you could say you were thankful or grateful for, who or what would it be? Do tell.
Oh, that's really easy. I'm grateful for having my son, who is keeping me honest and is giving me joy and is very much attuned to the problems of this world, and to my partner Stathis Gregorius, who has been a terrific co-joiner in this journey, in this life. That's what I'm grateful for.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, it's really, really wonderful. And you've shared a little bit about what your son is doing, and you must be very, very proud. That's great. Well, Neni, I want to thank you for being on the show. And to our viewers, if you would like to reach out to Neni, we have our contact information here. If you have comments, you would like to engage in conversation, perhaps a book collaboration, white papers, lectures, whatever, reach out to Neni. I'm sure she would be happy to receive your correspondence, your communications. And Neni, thank you once again for being on the Kelly Show. And folks, stay tuned because we have a special show coming up. And that is going to feature Neni and our other three very important guests who have come on this month of April to discuss as a panel what they see as the state of global agriculture. So if you haven't seen any of those episodes, go back because they're all very dynamic individuals. And Neni, thank you. I'll see you there for the panel discussion. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to having those sweets at the Hungarian pastry shop across from St. John the Divine. I'm really looking forward to that. So I'll see you in a few days and we'll pick up where we left off in this conversation. So thank you once again. Folks, if you would like to be a guest on The Kelly Show, please do write in with your contact information. We have the link below that we're going to put in. Write in who you are, your contact information, where in the world you are, but more importantly, your story and why you would like to be a guest on The Kelly Show. And don't forget to subscribe today, here you go, to The Kelly Show so you never miss an episode. And stay tuned for our next special when I'm bringing back all the guests I've had the month of April, all experts in their field coming from all over the world to sit down at one time and share their views about the state of global agriculture and who and what actually puts food on our tables. And if you don't think this is important, think again, people, and just look here at the price of food going up and up and up and up and up. And where does it end? And why is food costing us so much money? And why is it becoming so difficult to put food on our tables? So stay tuned for the next Kelly Show. Thank you for joining us. Gareth, take it away.
If you would like to be a guest on The Kelly Show, send us an email with your contact information, where in the world you are, and a brief description of the story you'd like to share today.
you.